Our country doesn't have a weight loss problem. Collectively, every year we lose millions of pounds. And then the next year we gain it back with interest 99% of the time. And the difference, the deciding factor for their success is their mindset.
Hey guys, my name is Anna Kate Tillison, your host for the Entrepreneurial Grind, How to Crush It at Life. This podcast will not only elevate your body, mind, and business skills, but also teach you how to crush it at life. I'm just your average gal from Kansas with a huge heart and passion to help others, and I want to prove to everyone that you can do whatever you set your mind to. I'm here with my friend Danny Stull. Thanks for coming out today. He was just on a podcast yesterday, so...
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully not too podcasted out already.
No, this is horrible for my ego. Being asked to be a guest on a podcast 2 days in a row.
Yeah, I mean, my podcast is literally How to Crush It at Life. So being a guest on this podcast basically is saying that you're crushing it at life, and so that's a good compliment to you.
Yeah, hopefully I can provide all the examples of what to do, and I'm not here for what not to do.
I mean, if it is, we can always turn it into that kind of episode.
So yeah.
I want you to introduce yourself. You own Team Icon through the bodybuilding community, so I want you to tell us a little bit about that, how you started it. We met kind of back, probably 2015 when I was bodybuilding through Team Icon and through some other different bodybuilding teams here. So how did you even start Team Icon?
Team Icon. So this is an interesting story. I didn't start Team Icon. I was actually approached in 2015, 8 years ago now, by one of my coaches, Lisa, and she had started Team Icon and had it for 2 years at that time.
Oh, okay.
And she had seen my passion, and I'd already been helping others for free and bodybuilding myself, competing at that time for 4 or 5 years. And she had asked if I was interested in coming on as a male coach to help her build the competitive side of the roster. And then I think when she saw my enthusiasm for how quickly it was growing and my ambitions for it, she had realized that she wanted it to be in my hands. So she signed it over, and she's always going to be a part of my coaching roster. And she specializes in lifestyle and a lot of like your autoimmune issues and postpartum clients. But for the most part, since 2016, it was quickly mine. And it's just continued growing. And I've been it's one of the greatest opportunities obviously I've ever had. And it's changed the entire course of my life.
And you, since then, have been able to bring on some other coaches as well. And I've been through the ebbs and flows of that and through Wichita. I think when it comes to bodybuilding, most people know who you are in the industry, especially being in it for so long. So what other coaches have you brought on for Team Icon?
I brought on a couple additional coaches. Right now, the coaching roster is myself, Coach Lisa, and Coach Hadley is our newest addition.
Oh, very cool.
I'm very excited. Hadley she has unlimited potential. She's just a go-getter, definitely very competitive in her mindset and her drive to just continually be better and better and better. And so she fits into the culture perfectly.
And Hadley's a bikini competitor herself, right? Has she competed already?
She has not. She will be stepping on stage for the first time at the end of this year.
That's really exciting. I think it's so cool to have grown with an athlete and see them transform over the years, mentally, physically. Obviously, growth in the gym is really important, but so is it mentally. I'm sure you watching her is kind of like a proud dad, watching her grow up into this scene.
Absolutely. That is the most fulfilling, is when I get to start with an athlete at the very beginning of their competitive career, really their bodybuilding career, because if they come to you and they may be working out in the gym, but they have no experience training. And being able to help them adopt the appropriate training philosophies and really learn how to approach this as a sport and make it sustainable for them, and then watch over the years as they just refine their craft and they grow so much as a person, and like the discipline carries over from outside of the gym to everything else they're doing in life, and they just continue to conquer. That's the most rewarding part of coaching for sure.
So you say training, and I think maybe a lot of people don't understand that there really is a difference between training and just working out, right? What do you think is the biggest difference between the two?
It's a good question, and I think you're right. I think a lot of people don't know how to differentiate the two. The best way I could put it is training is intent-based exercise. You're going in with a specific goal and mission, if you will, into each session, and the objective is to get better every single time. And working out is going through the motions. It's less specific, less intentional. And it's what most people you see at a gym are doing. And it's also why most people you see at a gym year over year look relatively the same.
Stay the same.
Yeah.
Train the same, remain the same. So would you say that someone that has any sort of fitness goal, even if they're not competing in bodybuilding or powerlifting or whatever it may be, that they should train instead of work out?
Yes, 1,000%. Most of my roster is Kate Payne's lifestyle clients. And then what you see the most are the competitive athletes because they tend to post the most. But I believe 100% everybody benefits from training intentionally. That's when you have that specific structure to your life, to your routine, to not only your time at the gym, but throughout your day, you unlock more discipline in yourself, but ultimately more freedom for your life and for what you want to do, and your time and your relationships. Everything else can prosper.
Right. And with training, in the world of bodybuilding or just coaching in general, we call it progressive overload. There are different ways to progressively overload. And I think that's for lifestyle people an easy way to show them, like, this is our intentful training. Here's our goals. We're going to go from here to here, whatever. So what are your favorite ways to progressively overload in order to make progress?
In the context of training at the gym, I like the question. A lot of it depends on their training age. I get a lot of athletes that are young and kind of early on in their bodybuilding careers or in their training careers. What it looks like oftentimes is they're getting stronger and we're increasing load frequently.
The weight's going up in the gym, right? Lifting heavier things, right? So what about a more seasoned athlete like yourself?
So eventually you don't get to keep adding weight. Otherwise, everybody in the gym is going to be lifting over 1,000 pounds. So what it looks like oftentimes for myself, I've been training since I was 12 years old. So we're at 19 years training now. And it usually looks like my execution is 1% better each time I step in. I'm a little more connected to the muscle that I'm working. I'm able to keep tension there for a greater duration of the set. The objective's always 100% of the time. That's the muscle that's under tension, which is, it's a goal, but it's not necessarily attainable. And so we're always striving for perfection, knowing that that's the direction of progress.
I think that's where most people will start to get stuck, is once they get past all those newbie gains and then they have found their natural potential, or at least close to it, and they start kind of plateauing. That's where people mentally start having trouble with accepting that, is what I found as a coach and myself as well. In 2019, it probably was 2020, I got the strongest I ever was. I was benching 215 for doubles. I was pulling 335 on deadlift. Squat was never great, but 265. So I was lifting really heavy. And then ever since that point, I've plateaued. I've actually kind of gone down a weight a little bit because I've been focusing on other things, but being able to never lift heavier than that can be hard for someone who is super goal-oriented. So what do you think keeps you, obviously you still have goals for competing and things like that, but what keeps you from burning out in the gym and in your workouts?
I have a new perspective on burnout because of my last year. And 6 months ago, I tore my bicep. And during that time, I've been unable to train any upper body movements. My arm was essentially there for decoration. It wasn't really helpful for anything. And not being able to train for that long just gives me a much deeper newfound appreciation for how blessed we are to be able to step in the gym and push ourselves to our physical limits and do that day after day after day. It's always a get to, it's never a have to. So now I don't anticipate burnout would be an issue because it's fresh in my mind, but I'm just now starting to hit my stride again in training. And like I said, go without something for a little while and it makes you appreciate how great it is to have it back. And before this injury, my answer would be I still didn't encounter burnout often because it's all about your perspective. And oftentimes in my athlete check-ins, one of the things I ask is, what was your biggest win for the week? Doesn't need to be this major thing. It doesn't need to be you got 400 pounds on your bench press. Sometimes it can be you read 10 pages of a book every day and you're taking steps to improve your mental, your mindset, and that development and growth. And I think if you have a perspective of gratitude and you're always looking for wins, then you don't risk burnout at the same degree that many people experience it.
I like that a lot. And I think too, if you're just getting bored of the same old thing, there's other things you can add into it. Obviously with bodybuilding, we still have to isolate certain muscle groups and things like that, but you could always add in Pilates or yoga or something that's completely different to give you a different feel, and it kind of brings everything together too, because as we know, like powerlifters that only do the big three, they're going to be lacking elsewhere. So they should be doing yoga or they should be doing some bodybuilding here and there. So that's what I've been trying to get better at with my burnout headspace about that is I can still go in the gym and lift, and it makes it less miserable if I'm also doing other things. So it's not just, lifting weights over and over again.
And I think a lot of the value there is in challenging yourself in new ways. We have this $5 trillion machine that is our body, and you get one of them, and that's your only ride for the rest of your life. So by just continually testing it and refining it and putting it in different arenas and seeing how you can grow and thrive in those, I feel like that will continually bring that sense of purpose to you. And so it's not always just bodybuilding in the gym, but like you said, it's yoga, it's kickboxing, it's jiu-jitsu. it's just putting yourself in uncomfortable positions to see how you can prosper and thrive and develop new skill sets.
I like that a lot, and that our body's a machine. I like that a lot. And if everything's not well oiled together, you know, you're going to have some pieces that are lacking. In Wichita in general, we have so many opportunities for different fitness things here. Like there's hot yoga, hot works, there's Pilates, of course, cardio kickboxing classes, or trampoline classes. There's the Bungee Fit now. Bungee Fit was so much fun. I didn't think it was going to be a huge workout for me, but I got a good workout in and felt sore in different places that I didn't think. So I think Wichita in general has a lot of potential with our fitness community. Back when you were competing like heavily in 2015 around there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And back when I was competing in 2015, we had a really solid bodybuilding community, and we had some really good Wichita bodybuilding shows. We had 2 here, or just the one to Midway?
For the NPC Federation, it was just the one.
Just the one in Midway, and then they moved All-Star here for 1 year. But anyway, that Midway show around that time frame was so cool because it was a lot of Wichita people.
Mm-hmm.
And over the past couple of years, because of COVID, unfortunately, the Wichita Midway show has kind of fallen off the tracks, unfortunately, and hopefully we can get it back up because we have so much potential here. But I remember being an athlete and getting together at the old Genesis with all the mirrors and just posing, like 20 of us, 25 of us, with Coach Jared Ragsdale. Shout out to Jared for kind of getting me started here in Wichita. And I know a lot of people have been through Jared as well. But I think the growth or the community here in Wichita is really cool. And I just would hate to see the potential dwindle away. So as a coach and as a team, what are some things that you guys do that you think benefit the Wichita fitness community?
On that, I think it doesn't seem like it's as prevalent. One, the Wichita show suffering or not being non-existent recently doesn't help. And I think that just requires marketing on the end of the promoters.
Right.
Because if you go to our surrounding states, it's not suffering. There's still every bit of opportunity there. One thing I think is a positive for how it's continually shifted and grown for the bodybuilding community here is the athletes are getting more invested as far as their time frame they're committed. One thing I've noticed even on my roster is the athletes come on and they're not looking for a 12-week prep. They're looking to step on stage to win, and they understand that could mean 18 months from now, that could be 24 months from now. You know, we may be looking at a year and a half of building first. And when I first started coaching, that would scare away 90% of athletes. And now it scares away 10%. So it's been a really favorable shift of people that have a better understanding that the sport is bodybuilding and it's not a get skinny contest. So to speak on the community, I think we are still seeing it shift in a great direction. It's just not quite as obvious because so many people are putting in the works now and they're kind of in the trenches coming up. And I know I can say that for my team. I have so many people that I can't wait till another year and a half, 2 years from now. You're going to have some killers. It's going to be a lot of fun.
For example, who are some of those athletes?
They're kind of the unsung heroes of the roster because they don't post themselves a lot. Like I've got a Sam Fields who just never misses a variable, never sends a late check-in, and just continually beats the logbook, sends me exactly as much feedback as I need. And Ashley Ware's another really fantastic one that's such a student of training and wants to just continually find that like gritty, deeper level of output that we're capable of in our training. And I call it stand in the fire or embrace the suffering. But she really challenges herself and records her sets for one, to send them as her training videos in her check-ins, but two, just to continually analyze her efforts and make sure that she really is giving as much as she feels in that moment. And it's good to have people that are that self-aware and willing to be that critical.
I like that. So you say like beat the logbook in reference to like progressive overload and like beating your numbers. So what are some of your sayings as Coach Danny Stull?
No, you know, just saying these probably gives like PTSD to some of my athletes. You know, I'll continually remind them like, you're not going to die in the middle of the set. It's just one set. Like, I promise you'll live through it. And then 5 seconds after the set's over, you'll realize you're fine. I like to, when I can see that they probably want to quit and there's 3 reps still in the tank, that's when I'll say, okay, we good with 3rd place. And nobody stops at that point.
Yeah, no one's good with 3rd place.
No, if they're stopping and they're good with 3rd place, they're probably not going to stay on my roster long because we just have a specific culture where we push each other to be the best. So just, there's 3rd place. Okay, that's 2nd place. So we'll get all the way for that overall. And suddenly they have 4 reps in the tank. Off the top of my head, those are my favorite cues. I'm sure there's been some more colorful ones for my athletes. If you ask them, they'll probably say it. Right?
Yeah, for sure. So about being a coach and the struggles of, you know, specifically you run your business with your wife, Sam. Are there any struggles on that end of trying to run a business, be a coach, as far as you guys? I know you guys have different roles. She helps with the posing, you help with the nutrition and the training, but have there ever been any conflicts between you and your wife for the business or coaching?
You know, interestingly enough, on the business side of things, absolutely not. Like, Sam is every way, she's a godsend, but
She's also an angel.
she really is. I mean, all the best things about me are her.
You're blushing.
That'll do it. You know, she helps so much with me running the business and being able to continually perform at my best. And she knows and is very understanding that I'm available for my athletes all the time. And so I'm really on the clock all the time. I don't know when the last time we had a day off was, but it's also work that I enjoy. And so I'm not desperately seeking that time off. But she complements everything that I do. She's there for my female, my wellness and bikini athletes. She's very often their posing coach. She's also a little bit of their stage coach, helping guide like color choice for their suits, hair and makeup, making sure everything is scheduled and appropriate for show day. And she has the finer touch that I'm not going to break. I promise your physique will look as great as it possibly can on show day. I don't have the same touch or finesse for making sure you nail your hair and your makeup.
All the girl shit.
Yeah, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So she steps into that and just really owns that role for me. And when she sees like I have that fatigue, I'm stressed out, I'm just a little bit over that day, you know, mentally I'm just ready to be done, then she helps me de-stress and unplug. And you know, we go for walks and talk about everything but work and just spend very intentional quality time. That's her love language anyway, so it's a win-win.
Sam's so sweet. I've known her pretty much as long as I've known you as well, but there was a point last year when I was really struggling mentally, feeling really down, just being single a long time and kind of hopeless. And I was talking to her about how I just love seeing your guys' relationship because it gives me hope. And she really talked me through kind of that time in my life, and just seeing you guys live your life and how you live it has been really, really cool. And for her to be able to open up her heart to me about a bunch of different things was really awesome. So you have a good thing going for you.
I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, I'm very blessed. I would never have that single complaint. You know, I'm way too blessed. More so than I deserve. But I do love our relationship, and I think we have a pretty solid foundation.
You have two little Boston Terriers too, right?
I have the Terror Squad. I've got one, he's a full Boston Terrier. The other one's half Boston, half French Bulldog. He's the worst of both worlds. Mm-hmm. And so he is just the loudest, most energetic little wrecking ball. But yes, those are my kids.
Wrecking Ball, Frenchie, yeah, that sounds exactly right.
Checks out. Yeah, you can definitely speak from experience.
You call them the Terror Squad?
Yeah, the Terror Squad or the Wrecking Crew. Both apply.
That's very unique. I like that. What about kids? Are kids in your future someday? You guys want that?
You know, it's not so much we definitely want them and we definitely don't. I just operate from a place of amorphity. You know, that's my life philosophy is a love of fate. If it happens, I will love it. And if it doesn't happen, I will feel like I lost in life. I'll love that too.
I like that perspective. I think I was always so set on being a mom, and I think I still want kids, but I think for a long time I was so set on being a mom at a young age, and then it didn't happen and it kept not happening. But I also just love my life. I think either way, like you said, I love my life. I love where I'm at. I still think I want kids someday, but you know, if it doesn't happen, that's cool. There's always adoption too. So someday down the road, that would be really cool to experience. So there's no struggles between you and the wife on the business side. What about as a coach for your athletes? What do you struggle with the most mentally? Do you get really upset if a client's not checking in, or kind of what are your main struggles with your athletes?
With my athletes, the biggest source of frustration would definitely be when I'm giving more energy than they're putting in or giving back to me. And I try not to do that because in my many years of coaching, I've learned like that's a really quick way to find my battery empty. But I'm definitely the coach that builds relationships with my athletes. To me, integrity tells me that's the best thing to do. That's the right thing to do with every person.
Yeah, I think we both operate as a coach kind of similar in that way. I have a lot of lifestyle clients more so than you do your bodybuilding athletes. I still have some athletes as well myself, but I also connect with my clients real deeply. I become friends with my clients. I go on trips, I host retreats, all this. And some other coaches have said, well, why do you get so personal with your clients? I mean, to me, again, like I said, I get to know them better. They trust me more. Our relationship works better for a coach and client to get them the best results possible. And I think when it comes to mixing business and personal, it kind of holds me accountable to be a good person, honestly. because if I'm a shitty friend, then I'm going to lose them as a client as well. So it holds me accountable to be a good person, because I think we all have those selfish tendencies as humans, and we're all going to make mistakes, and we're all going to like accidentally hurt a friend's feeling or something, but it really holds me accountable to that. And then it kind of puts it on them to also be a good friend, because we don't want to lose that friendship as well. But I've had some of my best friends come out like my clients.
I've definitely seen that in just following along your coaching journey and a lot of the traveling you've been doing and just forming those deeper bonds. That's really cool to see. Yeah. It's different for coaching. It makes us outliers in the way we do coach, because most coaches in this industry don't. They keep things shorter, business related, kind of more surface level interactions. As a result of that, I think they get less from each athlete, and not intentionally from the athlete, but if the athlete senses that you're all in and you're operating from a place of love and you want to see them win on every level, like as somebody who's truly invested in them and cares about them, they will absolutely find ways to give you more. And I say give you more, but it's give themselves more, because they're winning or losing for themselves. So the examples we set and the interactions we have are continually reflected on their actions and our bonds and relationships with them.
Right.
I think one of my favorite examples of, I'm always watching like professional sports coaches. Like if anybody we can learn from, it's these guys. But I love watching Sean McVay coach for the Rams, because even after bad plays, especially after bad plays, he's going up to the player that feels like he's at fault and is beating himself up and just very hypercritical. He's hugging, he's telling him he loves them. He's telling him it's all right. We've done this right 1,000 times, and I know, like, now we know how not to do it. But he's just making sure like their chins are up and they're still in a good spot with themselves. And it's so coincidence they consistently find themselves as Super Bowl contenders. And that's like such a good example of a coach.
I like that a lot. I think in any professional sport or just sport in general, the mental part can be some of the hardest pieces. So if you have a coach that's just, work and professional only, then you kind of lack that personal mental piece to connect with them. So I think that's really important.
I could speak for hours till your eyes glaze over about the psychology of the athlete or the client, and like how much more important it is to put emphasis on developing mindset, because our country doesn't have a weight loss problem. Collectively, every year we lose millions of pounds. And then the next year we gain it back with interest 99% of the time. And the difference, the deciding factor for their success is their mindset. It's those that go in with proper expectations, but also those that embrace the journey and doing the hard stuff and the character development that comes from building discipline and doing shit you don't really feel like doing now, but it's the right thing to do to get better. And so, yes, I think it's so important to lean into the psychology of your athletes. I'm not a professional by any means, but I can speak from my own experience and from the most real place I've got, which is my own personal struggles too. And by being vulnerable with my athletes about that, like their level of buy-in and trust is just tenfold greater.
So to get on that pro stage, it takes years of work just to have the 2 minutes, not even. Sometimes, especially at the pro level, they're just like, go, 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 getting you guys through it. Sometimes only 60 seconds on stage. What has been, for you as an athlete, the hardest part to getting up to that point?
The hardest part?
Mental, physical struggles, any of it?
I don't think to be a professional successfully, you have to learn to just enjoy every step of it. And your reward isn't the stage time. Like it's the process to get there. It's really testing and seeing where your limitations are, then beating those time and time again. I don't know. The hardest part is not necessarily part I don't enjoy. So it's finding a new limit every single time. Like last prep, I don't miss all my variables. I prioritize sleep. I never eat off plan. Like I treat it like a business. It's not an option to step off the plan. Like if you want to have a chance at winning, then 100% of your boxes need to be checked. And I did a good job of that with my last prep. But one thing that definitely did suffer was I didn't build my roster or my business at all during that time. And I maintained my athletes, and I knew I could keep the quality of my athlete care, my client care, where it was at. But by bringing on more people, I thought I'd be overwhelmed. I just didn't have the energy for it. And so one thing I look forward to with this next prep, whenever Matt gives me the green light, is seeing how much more I can thrive in growing my business still too. Because I know I'll conquer all my boxes for my physical prep, but I don't want to use that as an excuse to let off the gas for my other ambitions, my business, putting my other athletes on stage. I just find new ways to challenge and stretch your limits each and every time.
I think that's what, general fitness people don't understand that haven't competed yet, is like how much it really affects your whole life. Like if you don't go to bed at 8 p.m. and you don't have your meal at this time, everything's thrown off. your brain function goes down. You're kind of in a brain fog. I relate it to pregnancy hormones. You have that brain fog, you get tired and cranky, all these things that really affect your life. And if you're trying to do something new, for example, I'm trying to learn to fly airplanes. That's why I bailed out of prep this year, because I can't do both. I cannot. People are like, oh, you can just push through. You can push through. You can't. When you need this brain function to learn a very dangerous new thing, you have to be able to have full brain energy for that. And just for prep, you can't. But if you already have your systems built up within your business, then it could be easy to bring in new people. It's just like, what amount of energy will you have for those new people? But that's where you have your other coaches, and you can, pass them off that way as well.
Yeah, for sure. I can only imagine. That seems like such a highly technical and, of course, a high-risk skill that you're learning. And that's challenging for most people that will never touch a prep, let alone like a calorie deficit. And so trying to do both seems like a recipe for disaster. That's a little too high risk.
I thought my prep would be easy enough that it would be okay, but it still just takes a toll. I mean, even if the dieting and the workout wasn't so miserable, it still affects your hormones and your brain function. And so I just decided I couldn't do it. But
there's no way you'd get stage lean without suffering that downregulation. It's just you have to trade that.
Yeah, but I still have the joy of being a coach at some upcoming shows. I have a couple clients in shows this year. The next one this coming weekend in Tulsa. My client Sydney has been absolutely crushing it. She's stepping on stage for the first time, going to Tulsa this weekend with some other girls. You have some athletes in this show as well. Who do you have going down to Tulsa?
I do. I have Andrea stepping in for a bikini competition, and she's competed before, but this is our first show together. And she's put in a year and a half of work with me before we tackled this prep. So I'm really excited for the improvements that she's made mentally and physically. It's just a whole different look. It's a whole different physique.
I'm so impressed with her.
Me too. She really is just continually winning those mental battles. And then my other athlete, I'll just have two for this show. My other athlete is Jaden, who is another bikini competitor. And Jaden is a force to be reckoned with. She's pretty quiet. She posts like the occasional fitness selfie, but most of her work is in the shadows. And in our multiple years working together, I don't think she's ever complained. And I've given her plenty of reason to complain, because I know how hard I have to push her, or how hard we have to diet down in these last few weeks. But the really dangerous competitors are the ones that are singularly focused on winning, and that's where she's at.
Yeah, and Jaden did this show last year as well in Tulsa, right?
Yes.
I tanned her last year and tanning her again this year, and she got first in her class last year, is that right?
She did. She got first she won her novice. She won a novice overall. And then we got first in her class, and I believe she lost in the overall to Steph. I think that's where we placed it. She can't say second overall, because at that point you don't know who got second.
Right.
But yes, it seemed to be between those two for the overall.
I think me and Sydney, and probably Jaden too, I think Sydney and Jaden are going to be cool to go up against each other. I have high hopes for Sydney doing really well in her class, and so I think it'd be really cool to have Sydney first place in her class, Jaden first place in her class, going up against each other in the overall. Me and Sydney talk about that. But it's been super eye-opening for Sydney too. Like, she's never done this before. She got to go down to Oklahoma a few weeks back with the girls down to a posing clinic. And, Andrea and Jaden have both competed before. And so Sydney's like, I just had no idea it was going to be like this. This is so much. And then they're telling her about their protocol, because it's tough for them right now. And Sydney's been able to, I wouldn't say breeze through it. It's getting really tough for her. But her cardio is like at 50 minutes, whereas some girls are at 90 minutes. And, her carbs, I think right now are at 160. And some girls have to go down like sub 100. And that was me as a competitor as well. I had to do like 90 minutes of cardio every single day. And so I keep telling her, like, man, you have it easy. She's like, this is so hard. But again, just like Jaden, she doesn't complain. And I think that is key to being successful and pushing through those hard times, because they're not going to give up. I mean, they might here and there joke around about, oh, this is killing me or something, but they really do just push forward no matter what.
Yeah, it's just being able to maintain the perspective that you're lucky to be able to do this. It's a gift to be able to bodybuild, and it's very first world for us to put ourselves in an intentional calorie deficit and see how we can stay mindful and conquer our hunger and our cravings.
Definitely. Are you going to be going down this weekend to Tulsa to watch?
I will definitely be there, yeah. I was actually at the posing clinic too. I was helping with their men's physique athletes, because they have me come in and help them show the potential competitors or the people that are attending the seminar cues for men's physique posing. And that's where I'd met your athlete, Sydney.
Yeah.
I was impressed. She seems like she's a focused individual, which is one of the best compliments I can get. I was like, she's serious about this. That's cool to see.
She's also just her personality type. She's a nurse in a trauma unit. So you have to be super smart to be able to have a job like that. She's very intelligent and very driven. And even when she's tired or whatever, she's working a night shift, she has to be focused on whatever the surgery is or whatever they're doing at the time. And I think that relates over to bodybuilding. That's why she's doing so well in it too. But, I've been able to see you at the shows over the years too, of me being a spray tech and just being a coach. And we always see, I feel like I never see you in Wichita, actually. I always see you in other states at the shows. I think us coaches have that camaraderie too. It's nice to once a year be able to go down to the show and be like, hey, remember you from last year? So what do you think about this year in Tulsa will be special or different for you and your team?
What I'm looking forward to this year, I think we'll have a lot of competitors that haven't yet stepped on stage that are on the roster, like I said, doing the trench work for the next year, but they'll be there in attendance. And this will be their first show to attend. And I remember what that's like. That will really light a special fire under the right people's butts, and they'll just be stoked for their opportunity to work their way up onto that stage. It'll be a good community event for us. And everybody's so supportive. Joey will have his athlete there too, and we're all on the same team. I'm a competitor, so I want my people to win, as you should.
Of course, right.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the sport. I'm never going to pretend that we're rooting for silver or it's fun versus fun. No, winning is more fun than fun is fun. And I make that clear to my athletes. But at the same time, we have such a deep respect for the other coaches and friendships that it's really fun to get to go up against people that we like.
I've seen it many, many times where it might have even been last year with you and whoever overall winner's coach was. I took a picture from behind of you guys. And, after, because it was close, it was Jaden and Steph at the time going head to head. And at the end of it, when Steph got the overall, you and her coach just kind of gave each other a hug and was like, congratulations, man. And that's really how it is. And even for the athletes too, I think obviously, you want to win, you want to beat the person next to you. But at the end of the day, backstage, you're all best friends and you're all congratulating each other. And that's one of the coolest pieces about it.
Yeah, and how you conduct yourself in those moments says more about your character. Win or especially losing, the fact you're able to keep your chin up, keep smiling, keep moving forward, and just control your controllables. I think that's always the objective. We don't demonstrate poor sportsmanship. Like you said, when you're friends with your athletes, it holds you to another level of accountability, especially in moments like that. When you're experiencing, call it adversity, you're experiencing a loss, the best response you could have is to get better from it and congratulate the winner. They earned it. And you didn't get robbed. It wasn't a political decision.
Absolutely.
And just embrace the fact that, hey, if we want to win next time, we got to improve.
So anyone that wants to come support, it's this weekend in Tulsa, June 10th. Prejudging will be at 10 a.m., I believe. Finals will be at 6 p.m. I can post the Tulsa, the webpage to get tickets down in the show notes after this episode so that if anyone wants to go out and support, they can go. It's a quick drive down to Tulsa. What is it, 3 hours from Wichita, if that?
Yeah, 2.5.
So take a day trip, come support everyone here in Wichita. I know you have a big team of people. I have a big team of people. Wichita's going to be showing up at Tulsa.
Yeah, this will be our home crowd show.
I'm really excited. I love the Oklahoma shows. They're good promoters and really embrace the Wichita crowd too. So very excited, but thank you for coming out today and got to show you around the colony here, the new co-working space here in Wichita, Kansas, and our new studio. And thank you for being my second guest on the podcast, Entrepreneurial Grind.
It is my honor. Thank you. I'm not offended that I wasn't the first guest. I'll accept that. No, really, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I would gratefully do it again. This was a lot of fun. And I feel like we just kind of scratched the surface of a lot of what is our lives as coaching and as athletes.
All right.